Hi, everyone. Beginning of the week, wanted to say hello. So I'm eating some old chocolate. Maybe I shouldn't talk. Anyway, old chocolate is better than no chocolate, I would say. And I'm feeling the need to start a new painting project for myself. I want to paint in my house, and I don't know where to put the painting up on what wall so I can see what I'm doing. You know, after I take it off from the easel, put it up. Kind of got me stuck. Maybe I'll just start painting anyway and figure that out, because it's starting to get to me, not having a bigger project. I like the landscapes. I definitely have been enjoying the landscapes. But I like the inside too. I like both, you know. Anyway, that's just what's going on over here in my painting world. Not getting enough actual time drawing and painting. So tonight I'll draw. That would be good. Maybe I'll do that. Put on some good music. Stretch up. Maybe I should stretch up a good canvas too and get that going. Anyway, this is what's happening over here, right? I imagine it might sound a little familiar. Okay, now what? I've been in the demos for the playing with old masters. That's been great. I've been working with the Bacchus and Ariadne by Titian that's in the National Gallery. It's been a blast. I've really been enjoying that. So that's happening. And, you know, it's not just a demo for the class. I mean, I really enjoy it. Maybe I'll post some of those images of some of those pieces. It's been great. Part 1 and 2. All right. Anyway, all right. Enough of that. The Reenchantment of Art. So I know I said art and intimacy, and we're going to get there. I'll get there at some point. Suzi Gablik. So years ago, gosh, I don't know exactly when I read it. Has modernism, excuse me, has modernism failed? Is a really important book for me by Suzi Gablik. Huge, great book. And then this came out 1991, I believe she published it, The Reenchantment of Art. And this was another important book for me. And I thought it might actually be timely to look at it again. And sure enough, of course, it really is. So I'm gonna read just from the beginning. And yeah. And I think I should probably reread the book. I don't mean necessarily here with you, but I've got so many books I'm in the middle of too. It's really, but this is she's right there. All right, okay. So I'm just going to start. It's a little bit of a reading, so bear with me here. And it's been great hearing. A lot of you really enjoyed the Titian. That was great. Yeah, the book is gorgeous. And I looked to see if Katja Berger or Andrea Dacus had written more. I think she has one other book out there, and I think it was a collaboration with her dad. Maybe she's got something else. I don't know. But I couldn't get. All right. I'm a little. All right. This book is a sustained meditation on how we might restore to our culture its sense of aliveness, possibility, and magic. It is not an academic scholarly work, but has a distinctly visionary bias grounded in what one of my colleagues, the ecofeminist writer Gloria Fenham-Orenstein, calls the methodology of the marvelous. inexplicable synchronistic processes by which one attracts, as if by magnetism, the next piece of vital information. Most of what is written here is a record of my own psychic journey and reflects the changes in my thinking as it has emerged from the collective beliefs and opinions that are centrally entrenched in our society. Since the issues discussed are deeply personal as well as an aesthetic and social, the book does not fit comfortably into any of the categories that are normally used to classify art books. It attempts to engage the whole being, not just the intellect, but the emotional, psychological, ethical, and spiritual parts of us as well. Although it challenges many of our axiomatic assumptions about art, the book will, I hope, be relevant for people in other disciplines who are concerned about the future of our planet. Remember, this is 1991. It was published, so she's writing maybe 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I see it as a collective project, giving voice to what many people already believe and feel. Ideas are expressed and woven together that are very much in the air, seeking their proper articulation in the community. The discussions of art are focused around one essential theme. What does it mean to be a successful artist working in the world today? Much of what follows is devoted to considering this question. It is something that is not usually asked since it immediately implicates us in a value analysis of our whole culture. The idea of self-directed professionalism has conditioned, if not totally determined, our way of thinking about art, to the point where we have become incredibly addicted to certain kinds of experience at the expense of others, such as community, for example, or ritual. I'm going to go back over that. The idea of self-directed professionalism, right? It's like all artists are these self-directed wannabe professionals. You see that, take your work to the next level, get professional, the categories of being professional and, making it in the art world. And it's exhausting. I don't mean just the doing of it, the thinking of that. And it really constricts how we think about this activity that's so important to us. It's so central to our living our lives, us people making stuff. The idea of self-directed professionalism has conditioned, if not totally determined, our way of thinking about art to the point where we have become incredibly addicted to certain kinds of experience at the expense of others, such as community, for example, or ritual. We live in a culture that has little capacity or appreciation for meaningful ritual. Not only does the particular way of life for which we have been programmed lack any cosmic or transpersonal dimension, but its underlying principles of manic production and consumption, maximum energy flow, mindless waste and greed are now threatening the entire ecosystem in which we live. The prevailing attitude of mind of a culture, its worldview or mindset, is commonly called a paradigm. A paradigm is very powerful in the life of a society since it influences the way we think, how problems are solved, what goals we pursue, and what we value. The socially dominant paradigm is seldom, if ever, stated explicitly, but it unconsciously defines reality for most people, whose view of the world does not normally transcend the limits imposed by this cultural conditioning. For this reason, it's important to come to grips with our cultural model in order to understand how it affects the way we think and determines what we want. Many of the difficulties and conflicts we experience as personal in this regard are related to the framework of beliefs and standards of behavior provided by our culture to serve as guidelines for individual lives. Right? It's like, oh, what according to my culture, what does it mean, for me to have a successful life? What does that look like according to my culture? And that might not actually be a fit for the deeper reality of my being, particularly if I'm a painter. We tend to pattern ourselves in our worldview after our culture, taking as self-evident certain beliefs, values, and behaviors. Thus, if our model of culture is faulty or disordered, then we ourselves are disordered in precisely the same way. Since cultural conditioning strongly influences individual behavior and thought, to begin to move toward a different framework of assumptions that would change the basis of our experience is extremely difficult. But we've been moving in this way now. She wrote this, 35 years ago, right? So we've been moving, there's some momentum. It's slow, it's moving, but there's a lot of course, resistance. And for those of us that feel compelled to paint, we may really find ourselves like out of sync with everything else. And it's hard. So it helps to have community of other painters, for sure, Aziz. Is there any way then not to let the dominant paradigm in which we currently exist define who we are? And on which level then, the personal or the cultural, can the problem be resolved? This was the situation uncovered by my last book, Has Modernism Failed? But not really resolved, a widely shared disenchantment over the compulsive and oppressive consumeristic framework in which we do our work and from which it would seem there is no escape. My aim in this book is to go beyond the framework, that framework. As a culture, we seem to be approaching a certain awareness that things must change, and not just superficially. Rather, the most basic assumptions underlying modern society are in flux. And as these assumptions shift, the need for a new philosophical framework is being felt by many people. In arguing for the necessity of moving beyond the whole worldview of an epoch, this book looks to the possibility that individuals can reject certain prevailing cultural attitudes and embrace new myths. Myths here in the sense of larger stories, larger meaningful stories to live by. Who are we? Who am I? And how does what I do, where's the meaning, right? The question is no longer how did we get here and why, but where can we possibly go and how? Pretty urgent question now. We live in a society that has drastically narrowed our sensitivity to moral and spiritual issues. The problem we face is how to deal with a belief structure that has blocked both psychological and spiritual development. If there is a new agenda, a new vision now emerging within our society, how might one help put it into practice? This book represents my own attempt to look at what changes are necessary or desirable, how we might achieve them, and what the role of art and artists might be in accelerating this process. I'll pause there. I mean, that's right. It's like, so we feel as painters this need to paint, right? I mean, it's real. It's like, oh man, I gotta draw and paint. And that is an individual thing, for sure. And I do need to take care of that. And it's, make room for that and make decisions for that and do it. But there's something necessary for that, to see how my practice as a painter fits in a larger story, fits in a larger context. that is calling for that kind of activity. That I am an individual, but I'm not only an individual, and I'm connected to something larger. And what I do as a painter matters in that larger sense, as well as in my own individual sense. And that's really important. It's really, really important. And it's hard to keep faith with all of that when we are in this world that's so crazy and so everything is so fragmented. It seems to be like getting more and more fragmented. Right? So putting that in place, maybe we'll continue with this. I'll keep reading, not now, but next time. And keep drawing, keep painting, keep faith, keep doing it. So that's it from here. Hope you're all well. Hope you're making stuff. Or putting together a plan to make stuff or finding time during the week to make stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.